Hello, I'm Ed Haigh, and I wanted to talk you through the online part of our client perception program. Many of you will be familiar with a client perception program from previous years when it was delivered in the form of a very large PowerPoint-based report. We've divided that into two parts this year. One part, a more conventional report written in sort of traditional PDF form, where we tell the story emerging from the data about a particular geography. And this other part, which is online, where we put all of the data at the reader's fingertips so that you can sort and filter based on your preferences to get to the answers that you want about the program. So I'm just going to talk you briefly through that online part. What we're seeing here is the login screen, obviously, and my email and password are already filled in those boxes, but obviously we'll make sure that you get the details that you need when you buy a license for the reports. So once you have those, click the login button, and you're going to be brought through to a page where you can see all of the different reports that are published as part of the program. You can see too, by these green ticks, whether those reports are included in your license. If they're not included, you'll see a red cross there. And you can see the publish date for reports that have already been published. And depending on the combination of those, you'll see whether it's possible to load data or not. And if you can't, the button will be grayed out and you'll see a no entry sign. So let's go into the USA, a report that's already been published and therefore the data for which is already available. I click the load button. Now, as soon as you come into this for the first time, and indeed every time you come into it afresh, you're going to see this helpful button at the top, which will guide you through what I'm about to talk you through. So I'm going to dismiss that for a moment. But if you ever want to be sort of taken through the site step by step, then that help button is the place to go. I'm going to click anywhere else for the moment and just dismiss that. Up the top of the page here, well, first of all, actually, we can see by this tab that we're in the USA's data, so we know we're always now looking at USA only data. The tabs at the top here relate to the 4 major questions that we asked respondents about. So views about firms' capabilities, views about value, views about price, and views about the factors that influence their perceptions or why they think what they think about a consulting firm. And for the sake of simplicity, because capability is a slightly more complicated area because you've got lots of sub-areas to choose from here, I'm going to go into value for now. This is just going to be a useful way to sort of show the system to you. So I'm looking at views about value now. Now the chart I see straight away has a label overall next to it. It means we're looking at all data about the USA. So remember, this is just USA data. Mousing over that tells us that amongst the respondents we spoke to, 9% said they thought that they got less in value than they paid in fees. 64% said they got about the same amount in value as they paid in fees. 18% said they got twice what they paid in fees. 7% said they got 5 times what they paid in fees. And 3% said they got 10 times what they paid in fees. So that's a kind of picture of value overall. Now remember that our respondents were only ever telling us about individual firms. So this aggregate view is something that we've done. They weren't ever telling us about their view of the industry in aggregate. They told us about firms, we aggregated it. You'll notice here we've got the chart itself, and as I say, when you mouse over that, you can see the data. Down the bottom here, we've also got the data itself, just laid out in a slightly different way in case it's helpful for you. But now I'd like to talk you through this menu on the left, which allows you to start comparing the data by different things. So, for example, we can compare views about value, again, in the US by sector, and we can see how they change from energy and resources, for example, to financial services, to the public sector, to the telecoms, media and technology sector. So we can see how views about value change depending on the sector you're in. Same if I click on this button goes for function. We see how views differ from different functions of business. We can also see it by individual firm. So now we're getting down to what the users actually told us and just showing that in unaggregated form. So we can see what views were about each of the individual firms that people talked about, and you can see from this that they differ quite considerably. We can also see it at a slightly higher level than that. If we click on firm type, we can see how things look by either big four firms or by strategy firms or technology firms. Remember, we're all still talking about value here. And lastly, down here, we can see it cut by client relationship, the differing views between direct clients and indirect clients. Direct clients, remember, are clients that the firm is actively working for now. Indirect clients are, if you like, prospects, people that feel qualified to have an opinion about the firm but aren't its active customers right now. So we can see the difference in views between those two. Let's go back to firm for a minute, because I now want to talk you through the menu you can see on the right. And this menu allows us to start selecting and deselecting, filtering, if you like, the data that we want to see. So we've already said we want to view things by firm. I'm going to move over here now. I can actually click anywhere within this menu, and it's going to call up the Set Filter menu, where I can start to select and deselect a whole load of things that I want. So I'm happy for now to see all sectors. I'm happy too to see all functions. And for the moment, to see both types of client relationship. But I only want to see at the moment views about EY. So I just need to make sure that all the other firms are unselected and EY is selected. Now, the simple way to do this is just to click the toggle selection button, which first deselects all firms, and then I can just click EY. That saves me unselecting every firm and leaving EY selected. It's just a quicker way around it. And now I'm going to click Update. Now I'm seeing views about EY only. So I can see that people who told us about EY, of them, 51% said they thought EY delivered value 5 times in excess of, or as a multiple of fees. 29% said value was twice what they paid in fees, and 20% said that value was roughly in line with fees. Let's go back into that filter menu again, just call it up one more time. I'm going to leave it so that I've only got EY selected. I'm going to leave the sectors and functions all completely selected, but I've still only got EY selected. And I can see from the top of there, just in case I didn't actually want to go into that tab, that I only have one of 13 firms selected, so I know that at a quick glance. I'm now just going to unselect one of these client types. So let's say I'm only interested in the views of direct clients now, the people that EY is actually working for right at this moment. So I'll untick direct clients, leaving myself just with direct clients, just talking about EY, but still across all sectors and functions. And I'll click the Update button, and I see exactly the same chart, but now showing me data for direct clients for EY only. And we can see that the situation's changed quite a bit. And once again, we can see the data itself laid out in a slightly different form down the bottom here. So that, frankly, is the basics of it. Clearly, the major thing is selecting the type of question you want to have answered first, and then coming down and starting to set what you want to compare and how you want to filter. Before we finish, I just want to show you a couple of other things. The first is this quick code over here. Every time you create a chart on this system, a new code is created in that box. Now you can copy and save that code and come back to it at a later date, because it can sometimes be a bit long-winded to get to the exact point you want. It's the nature of having huge amounts of data. So what you can do is save that code, come back into the site at a later date, put that code straight in that box, click load, and it'll bring you back to precisely this chart, exactly with all the filters set in exactly the way you set them. It also allows you to send that code to other people who have access to the system, which is a really useful way to get other people to see the chart that you created. So that's the quick code. And then just lastly, we have this piece of functionality to export the graph. So once you've created a graph, you can give it a name, you can choose from a range of different file types, click Save, and you can export the data for use in your own documents. That's the basics of it. As I say, the Help button will talk you through, in very simple terms, what I've just talked you through there. Things do get slightly more complicated when it comes to talking about capabilities, but I think it's simplest to leave you with a fairly simple view of it for the moment. If you have any questions, if this gets confusing at any point, please do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to talk you through this and answer any questions you have. I hope that helps, and I hope you find the site really useful.